Today I'm going to teach you how we go ahead and get started. Let me go through a couple housekeeping items. Number one, if you want to share this tutorial from Facebook, it allows you to take that tutorial and map it over to your individual Facebook page, however you want to share it, from your business page, from your personal page. It'll share it to your individual page where it's so much easier to find when you get ready to either put a wreath attachment in that you may already currently have, but you just want to go through a totally different process. That will be available for you. If you are on YouTube, the one thing that you can do is you can create little subfolders for different tutorials that you want. You'll be able to save those in however you want to, however you want to designate your file folders. Also, if you are a first-time viewer, welcome. I'd love to know where you're joining us from and kind of how do you find us. The other thing is, I don't know if you guys know, most of you probably do, I do have a YouTube channel. It is on YouTube under Kat's Creations Wreaths, where you will find close to 450 plus tutorials from the last 6 years. And there is literally a little bit of everything for you to find there, especially a ton of spring designs, a ton of Easter designs. And what we're making today is a Spring Bunny Wreath attachment. You could also use him for Easter, although we're specifically designing this to where it yields more to a spring design rather than an Easter design. But I like when you create a design like that where you can use them for both. Also, let me go ahead and pull this up. I'm still waiting for it to go. Here we go. It finally mapped over. Alrighty, that's like waiting. Hi, Elizabeth, welcome. Let me go ahead and type in the website address for you guys really quick. Thinking it's working. You never know. Were you guys all like part of the Facebook outage things last week? I didn't even know that Facebook went out, which is a good thing. That just means that I don't rely heavily on Facebook for things when they pop up. Let me go ahead and pin this. So we're going to go ahead and get started. I'm going to go ahead and pivot you down so you can see what we're working on today, and I'll give you all the materials. So hang tight. I'm going to go ahead and grab you. Always trying to find a way to do this more efficiently. Trying to make sure you're all straight. Okay, so we're going to be using a 15-inch, what's called an elevated work frame. An elevated form means that it just goes from one level to another level. This has a 2-inch elevation, so there's a lot that needs to happen in order to fill the gap. So you can get these at Craft Outlet, you can get them at your local craft stores. This happens to be a lavender, what's called a tinsel tie. It's more of the fuzzy ties on here instead of the thinner, more stiffer ties known as pencil ties. So you can get these, like I said, from a wide range of sources. This one happens to have 17 tinsel ties. So this is one of the older versions. I think all the newer ones now are even, they're either, most of them are 18 inches or has 18 tinsel ties on them. So we're going to be using this. This is called a 15-inch elevated frame. And generally what you see is 15 to like 24, 25 inches, which means by the time you add your Deco mesh, if you're measuring from the inside, it's about 15. If you're measuring from the outside with all of your mesh, it can expand anywhere between 24 and 25 inches in diameter, depending upon the type of method that you use. We are also going to be using a wreath attachment. Let me set this out of the way. That is from, I'm going to turn him around. This is from PNWWreaths, the letter N, Things on Etsy. So this is a delightful, adorable little bunny. He has posable ears. He comes in two parts. One is the head if you don't want to add the body, or you can add the body for a complete look, which is what we are going to be doing today. So if you look at him, how he is assembled, if I was to take the dimensions, he is right at 22 inches. So if you think about that from a wreath frame perspective, we need to get something that is going to allow him to sit so he's not going from top to bottom. So I'm going to show you what we're going to do and how we're going to alter that frame. In addition to that, we are going to be using what's called a basket or waffle mesh. Let me go ahead and put him aside. This is, trying to find the opening so you can see. It's kind of like a waffle frame, and this was from Hobby Lobby, I want to say 2 or 3 years ago. This went on clearance. And so here's the interesting thing. While this is a 21-inch mesh, it is only 24 feet long. So I do have 2 rolls in case we need to put those 2 together. This is going to be our Deco mesh base. I haven't yet decided on ribbons, whether we're doing tails, whether we're doing half bows, whether we're going to do something totally different. I would like to see some florals incorporated since it is a spring design. And so the first thing we're going to do is we are going to put in our Deco mesh. So we need to start on, let me go ahead and take this tape off carefully. When you're starting this, actually I guess we can go ahead and do this. So what I'm going to show you, because it'll be easier for you to see, is we're going to bend this frame. Right now it's kind of in a, supposed to be a circle frame, or we're going to take this and I'm going to bend this frame. I'm going to put it into an oval shape. So now I have an oval. Okay, it went from a circle to an oval, which now when we look at these, I now have this at 27 inches, which is going to be perfect for our bunny to fit in. So now what we're going to do is we're going to add our Deco mesh. We're going to do the poof method. So the first thing you want to do is you want to gather all your mesh in your hand. Just kind of feed it into your hand so that you can contain all of that. Once you have all that in a nice little bundle, I like to take the end. I like to drop that right in front of me. So I just dropped it right down in front. I'm going to use this on a crossbar and we're going to start with the inside ones. So I'm going to put this between my rails. And what I want is a zip tie. I'm going to try to go between these 2. Right on that cross member. I'm going to go ahead and put this in. So we are going to be creating this entire design just to kind of look at have that started. I like to measure out about 10 inches. So I'm going to start this on my 20-inch line. I'm going to stretch this out so that I have a 10-inch from here to where I've gathered it in my hand. I'm going to open up my next tinsel tie and I'm going to plop this right inside. A couple twists. And then if you want, you can fluff as you go or you can fluff afterwards. So that is considered your poof. Again, stretch it out. Find your next 10. We're going to add this right inside here. Just like this. And we're going to create a poof base for him to sit in. I think it's a him because he has a top hat. And I always want to make sure I'm keeping my tinsel ties to the outside so I know where to find them. This is going to be really clingy mesh, which is good. It just means it's going to cling to itself because it's got some, it's finished ends, but they're kind of like, they have like little ends on them, like right in here, that like to grab on to other things. So always pulling these back to the outside. Going to go ahead, grab another 10, open this one up, gonna place this right inside, and you don't have to do 10-inch poofs. I have people say, can you do 8-inch? Absolutely. You just might not have as full of a look on the center. You can use any kind of Deco mesh that you want. It's all going to depend on method, size of your poofs, consistency of your poofs. So I try to be very concise. If I'm doing 10, then I'm doing 10 all the way around. So we're trying to create a base for him to sit in on the center. And I'm always like trying to push these up and out so they're a nice little poof. And we're focusing these mostly to the inside. The ones on the bottom are going to be more coverage for our sides and a little bit to the bottom. Okay, 2 twists. And we'll go ahead and pop this in. And again, keeping my tinsel ties to the outside so I know where they are. Measuring out another 10. Opening these up. So we've turned a round frame into an oval frame. Have you guys actually done that before? Altered your existing frame to give it a different shape. You can also do that with the evergreen forms. If you didn't have an evergreen form, you could use some garland, double it up, and then twist those together. As you can see right now, I have created my center section. Again, poofing. So we have filled the inside. So I have wound up back where I started. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to go from the top rail to the bottom rail. And there is one directly down in front of it. So I'm going to do that one. And I'm still going to do a 10-inch poof right to that bottom rail. Usually I kind of go over to the side, but because this is an older work frame, we're just going to go with wherever the frame pieces are, or the tinsel ties are. Sometimes you don't have a choice where they are. So we're still doing 10-inch poofs. I'm being very concise. If you have some bottom pieces that are starting to hang down, you can just move those out of the way. I'm just maneuvering my Deco mesh in place. And in this case, I actually have a tinsel tie that doesn't have its partner. I don't know what happened. It only shipped with one. So we are adapting to that situation with a lavender colored pipe cleaner so that we can add those two together. Jumping right into the next section. Just one complete twist is enough to get those tinsel ties together. And as I'm going from the top layer to the bottom, I like to take the edges and keep the edges to the center. So watch when I add this one in. I'm going to lift this one up so you can see what I'm doing. I'm going to flop this one right on the inside. See how the edges automatically, I don't like dealing with the edges, so I take the edges and I bring them to the center, even on the bottom one, and then I'll go through and open those up. So now we don't have like those, like these, right along the inside. Okay, we're gonna go our next set. 2 twists. I'm just opening up my individual poofs, matching the edges together, so we don't have those popping up. Here's our next 10. This one's a bit of a jump to get to where the next tinsel tie is. It's really hard sometimes to, prepare for what happens if, one of your tinsel ties breaks off or it just doesn't come shipped with that. You can't plan on making sure you have enough of this in every single color there is. So just having a pipe cleaner handy, or you could use a zip tie in that section and just wrap the tinsel around it. We're coming up on the other side. Again, pulling my poofs, taking my edges, moving those to the center. Remember, it's not supposed to look round. We've moved this form and we have reshaped it into a nice oval for this wreath attachment. So just one complete twist is enough to hold that in. How many of you have actually added wreath attachments to your wreaths before? Which means you've gotten a plush, whether it's a bunny butt, whether it is a scarecrow head, a ghost body, a rubber duck. I'm trying to think of all the ones we've done. We've done reindeer before, snowman. Mostly we see them during the winter time. Okay, now I am finishing up this last poof right where I started. So I'm just going to add this to the center of what I have already created. You have the option, you can untwist and add that in, which I'm going to do. And we're going to stuff it in there really good. And then fluff out that last piece. And then because we still have a little bit of Deco mesh left, I'm going to do what's called, if I separate these, you'll see. So here's that upper level to lower level. We're going to zigzag. So I'm going from this spot back up to the top. Same thing, 10-inch piece. I'm going to go right up to the top. As soon as I find the other half. There it is. And I'm just going to add this to the center. You can open it or just add it. And this is going to fill that gap and give it a little bit more of a full look. And then from here, we're going to go down to the bottom. So I'm at the top, I'm going down to the bottom, not in the very next one, because that would just be right below where I'm at. I'm going to add this as soon as I can unfluff this and tuck my edges in. We're adding this right to the bottom. So I'm at the bottom, measuring out 10, and I'm going to go not here, but the next one up. So if I separate these, you'll see where I'm going from the bottom right here to the top. So I'm just running out the rest of my mesh so that we have a very full mesh base. Same thing, taking my edges, tucking my edges in. And now we're going to go from the top to the bottom. So this one is going to go, pushing these out of the way, down to this one right here. And it's just filling in the middle between those two pieces. This is why some people prefer to just wait till the very end and fluff, but I'm kind of doing it as we go. And then I'll pull these back up. So you can see the difference between this side and this side. This side's a little bit thinner. And this might, we'll see, we might be able to get one more piece off of this roll. So we're going from the bottom. I'm trying to think, like, do I want to go right to the top or do I want to take it over here? I think I'm going to go right around the corner to this top. And I think I'm going to let it go a little heavy to fill this one up, which means I'm kind of doing a little bit of a 12 in here. So here's my 10. Here's a 12. And I'm just using this to get this around the corner. So we're going to drop down our centers. Okay, and this is where my Deco mesh ended. I didn't quite get it the whole way. That's okay. I'm going to take this now, because it's in that top thing. I'm going to take it to the underside of my frame. Let's see. There's not that much. It's like a weird piece. So let's just pull this in. I'm just pulling that leftover end in. I'm going to attach this to the crossbar with my zip tie. So I'm just going to put it right in between the crossbar, flipping this over. And we're going to zip tie that in, and we're going to cut the tail off this piece here. Just like that. Going to flip this over. So remember, we left off, trying to find it, right here. So we still need to fill just this little section right here. So this is where I have my spare roll. Like I said, had this been a 30-foot roll, you would have had enough to finish. But we don't. We only have a 24-foot roll. So we're going to start it just the same way. So I'm going to gather all together. We're gathering our mesh. Going to drop it in front of me. I'm going to come in to the center with my bundle, because this is where we tied off. I'm going to grab another zip tie. Oops. I'm going to go ahead and try to get my zip tie in and under that little piece. We're going to go ahead and zip tie this on. Some people might just be like, oh, well, there's no point. If maybe I move the bunny over, I don't have to like worry about that extra piece. I'm like, let's worry about that little extra piece. So now we're here at the top, which is exactly how you splice your pieces together, because sometimes that happens, right? Sometimes when we're putting a design together, our Deco mesh ends suddenly. So it's like, hey, what do you do now? This is exactly what you're going to do. So we're at the top. We're going to move to the bottom now. And then we'll be able to position it up. I think we only have like 3 pieces to add. So that's why I'm like, some people just won't even take the time. They'll just be like, nope, we're done. Not even going to worry about it. Trying to find my other tinsel tie. There it is. So we're at the bottom. Now we're going to move to the top. And I'm just taking my time on this section. I'm just going to the next one, right up here. Two twists. Go ahead and open this up. Making sure our edges are towards the center of the frame. We're going to do one jump down, and then I think we have one up, and then we're done. So I'm going straight down. Yes. So one down, one up, and then we're done. Open this up. And we have our last piece. So we're on the bottom, going to go right up to the top. There are some people who will zigzag across the top just so that they have enough there for their bunny. I'm going to cut this off. This is the last of that. So we're going to do the same thing like when we finished. We're going to bring this to the inside, right here on our cross beam, taking a zip tie, because here's where we started. Here's that. Take that pile, zip it here, snip this off, and then we can trim up the rest of this. So just kind of hold it in your hand. Nice little tail. Now you're all finished. So this is now our completed frame, an oval frame, just like that, for our bunny. Do you guys have any questions about the poof method? This purple mesh, like I said, was from Hobby Lobby a couple years ago. Joanne says, all shades of purple are my ultimate favorite color. It's vibrant and cozy. Thank you, Joanne. Okay, so what we want to do is we want to put our bunny in so we see where else do we have space to put things in. So the bunny on the back comes with two attachments. So there's one here, there's one here. So I'm going to show you where they're at. So I'm going to do a pipe cleaner here. Just want to make sure it does not pull through. And we're going to tuck this one down at the bottom. That way it'll keep his chin down. If you don't like where these loops are placed, you could add your own. So I'm thinking he's got to kind of go right up here. And let me look at his body. His body's a little shorter. So just like so. And then as you can see, we still have fluff at the bottom and we still have stuff at the top. So I'm thinking that's right where he needs to go. So he's going to look like that. I know you can't really see him all in the camera angle, which is why we're doing it sideways. There you go. I'm trying to fit him in. Hi, Joan. Sorry, not Joanne. Okay. UK. All right, perfect. So we're going to go ahead and get him situated in. So I'm going to go ahead and attach his head because we've already got the tinsel ties in here. So I'm going to start with the top one. And I'm going to add this right to the top part of my frame. So I'm trying to get that to go through. This is why I love working with floral wire over the pipe cleaners. I've almost got, there it goes. Okay, I've got that one, and I've got this one. I'm going to pull him up nice and snug. And I really want them down to the inside of my frame. From here, like I said, his ears bend, so you could position him whatever you'd like. Okay, so here we're going to go right down to the lower half of our frame. So interesting. It's like I have the other part. I have my other pipe cleaners I've ran into. We might not even. I'm trying to get him in. Let's flip him over and see what we're working on. So here I have him added to the bottom. So I'm going to try to pull this up. Let's find his other pipe cleaner. We're trying to get him attached to the frame. So let's look. Let's go ahead and, I've got a lot of that tinsel everywhere. Okay, so his head is attached to our frame, and now we're going to tuck in his body. Well, his body doesn't have the loops in it, but we can definitely, you know, add our floral wire. You can add a pipe cleaner. She even gives you additional loops if you want to glue them on, but you guys know me, I'm not a gluer. I'm going to just put this one down here at the bottom. I'm just pulling up, should be pulling to the side, taking my 22 gauge floral wire and adding that right to the center bottom part of his butt. We're going to put a little twist in it so he doesn't come out. And kind of looking at how this is going to go. We probably don't even need to attach the top part because I don't want to pull, like there's nothing really to attach that to. So let's look at this. Let's go ahead and attach his bunny butt. And then see where else we want to anchor him. We might anchor him to the side. So let me get him down to the bottom. And I think I'm going to anchor off to the side so that he doesn't flop, like this part doesn't flop up and down. So when you think about it, we've put this in an oval frame. So we can add one here, and attach him so that he doesn't have the flop action. So I'm going to cut a couple of these pieces off. We'll attach it to the center, off to the side. So what I'm saying is we're going to grab right here off to the side. We had success the first time. I'm trying not to grab too much of his fluff in there. That side just does not want to go in. That was interesting. Here we go. I think I'm doing it right on the seam, which is why it was so thick. So here's our end. Give him a twist. We're now going to attach him to the top bar, which is right here. So I'm going to pull him up nice and tight. Oops. I got one end. had one in that I let go. Okay. Just wanted to make sure I had him right on the frame. So that he doesn't flop. What happened? Ooh, sorry guys. I must have bumped the camera without realizing it. Let me see if we can make sure that does not happen again. I apologize for that. So we've attached him here, and then we're going to attach the other side. I must have banged him when, or banged the camera when I was flipping him upside down to double check, hey, where is this coming in? I like suddenly looked up at my camera. I'm like, what the heck happened to Mickey? She said, where did the bunny come from? He actually came from PNW. So it's basically Pacific Northwest, but just the initials P as in Paul, N as in Nancy, W. This is really good fluff right here, because I am attempting, because I don't want to carve a big old piece in, but we should be able to get that in. It's always just like the way I have it tied in here is pretty tight. There we go. I just have to get through the one instead of trying to push them through both at the same time. There it goes. This was really good fiber fill, or material that she used to put her bunny together. So PNW Wreath N, the letter N as in Nancy, things on Etsy. Okay. We've got one side, and here's the other. So I want to make sure our bunny is nice and snug. Let's make sure. And if you don't want to have the risk of having the top meet the bottom, two options. You could technically glue this section. I'm going to attempt to floral wire the top to the bottom so I don't get a sinking bunny. Let's try this. Let's see if this will work. It's just been a challenge poking holes, and I should have just brought my yarn needle in. There we go. I was able to get that one in. And I want to tuck up underneath here, right where the loop is. Right where my loop is. Trying not to. Oops. Okay, so I am going to attach his head to his body and then pull up his little bow. So there we have securely attached the bunny to his body, to the frame, two totally separate different pieces. And I think I want to do, I know I want to do a bow, but I'm thinking we might do a bow here, and we might do a bow here. And then we'll add some ribbon tails and some other things. So let's go ahead and create a double bow for this bunny. So I'm going to set him off to the side. And we're going to pull in the colors of this guy. So we're going to do black and white because he does have black and white as his accent color, but we're also going to keep the purple in. So we're going to do the purple, I think, then the black and white. Let's see what other colors we have. We have this black, white, and purple. These are from Craft Outlet. Craft Outlet, the black and white gingham is from Crinkle Designs. We also have a gingham with like film strip edge. This is also from Craft Outlet. We're going to add in these pearls. And I think, I'm trying to think of the color combinations. So we might end up going, I think I want just a lavender in here. So I think, let me see. So, and then the pearl circle ribbon is from 5th Street Studios. So let's create double bows for this guy. We're going to use our Bowdabra. We're going to dovetail the end first, which just means bring the wired edges together. We're going to cut from the folded side down to the wired point. Right? Yes. We're going to go 10 inches, and then we're going to gather. We're going to twist. We're going to place that right inside our Bowdabra. We're going to go up and over, and we want 5.5-inch loops, which means take your Bowdabra, bring it on your 10-inch line, stretch this out, and you want to make sure it ends right at 5.5 inches. Right there. Do the same on the other side. I just like this ribbon because it stays in the color palette, but it also features, you know, the spring florals, some lavenders, looks like some lavender, some poppies. We're going out to 10 inches, and then we're going to dovetail the end again. Then we're going to do our black and white. And this one is going to be dovetail the end. And we're doing 9.5-inch tails. So we're going to measure out 9.5 inches. We're gathering, twisting, and these are going to be 5-inch loops. So I always just kind of estimate, but then I verify and double check. So we're right at 5 inches, up and over, right back here, 5 inches, and then we want to go out to 9.5 and add our dovetail. Remember, we're going to do this twice. We're going to add a double bow to this bunny. I just don't want to fill him full of ribbon tails and half bows and all that stuff. So now we're going with the solid lavender, and I get my 50-yard solid spools from Crinkle Designs. So it's Crinkle with a K, designs.us. I love having 50-yard spools because 1 yard is equivalent to 5 regular. So with space being a premium, it's always a good thing. So 9 inches is going to be the bow length. And we're going to go 4.5-inch loop for the tail. There's 4.5. Up and over. And then back out to 9 inches. We'll put our dovetail end on that. We'll set that aside because we're going to need it again. So now we're going to do the black, the white, and the purple plaid. And we're going to do 8.5 inch tail. We're going to twist, place this on the inside. And because our loop on the one before that is 4.5, we can just kind of put your fingers in and pull both of them to make sure that you've got equal loops. It's just a shortcut, but then you still need to bring it back to get your 8.5 back out. And dovetail that in. And then we're going to do our purple. So this one has been spliced before, so it probably has a sharp piece. So sometimes you could just need that for like, I don't know, another ribbon tail. So if I have a little bit extra that can't really go into a bow, I'll just add it into the existing new roll. This one's going to be 8 inches with 4-inch loops. So again, just back on the 10, pull it out, kind of guess, but then verify. We need a little bit more. And then back out to 8. And then we have our last ribbon, which is that film strip ribbon with all the colors in it. So dovetail the end. Let's put a clean cut on that. Okay, this one's going to be 7.5 inches, but it's only going to have a 3.5 inch loop, because these are how that's going to present when we place it on our bunny, on our wreath. So 3.5. Measure again the other side. Verify and check. And then back out. This one has a really thin wire in it, so it doesn't have an awful lot of weight to it. There's that one. And then that's out. I'm going to grab a lavender pipe cleaner. And we're just going to pick up the entire bundle. Just kind of transfer your hands so that you have access to drop your pipe cleaner in. Now you don't have to use a pipe cleaner. You can use floral wire. You can use a zip tie. It's entirely up to you. So there's one. We're actually going to create 2 for a rabbit. So we're going to just build the other one really quick. Same theory. You have the option to mix them up a little bit, or if you want them to look exactly the same, let's mix this one up. Let's put the black and white at the bottom. We're just gonna flip-flop the ribbons so they don't always have to be exact. You can change them with a slight variation. The colors are all still there. It's just how they are on the wreath that's a little bit different. In the bow, still 5.5 inches for our bottom one, 10-inch tail. Which is always great, because sometimes I get people who say, oh, I ran out of ribbon, but I don't have enough to do my second bow, or I don't have enough to do my ribbon tails. Well, there is no set law that says that you can't vary your ribbon tails from your bow. Just try it and see what you think. So now we're going to do the purple on top of that. This is going to be at 9.5 inches with a 5-inch loop. just as long as your color palettes are similar, which means if you're just going to introduce black and white or your purple, just make sure they're the same, you know. But I've done that quite a few times where I'm like, oops, don't really have enough ribbon. And so we just do a different bow on top than we do on the bottom. And it came out looking fabulous. Here's our 9.5. And we'll set that over there. Now we went with the, whatchamacallit, we did the lavender, right? I'm trying to think. What did we do next? We did this, and then we did, or no, we did the lavender. So now we're going to do this, and then the lavender. So let's mix that up. You'll see it doesn't really change it much. 9 inches in. If you want, you can totally change ribbon altogether. This is still going to be our 4.5 with a 9-inch tail. And then back out. 9 inches. There's that one. Did you guys miss me on Tuesday? Did anyone know that I didn't show up on Tuesday? Did you notice? Now we're going to do our lavender. We've just had a really, really horrible start to 2024. On Friday, I think I posted it on my page, but on Friday, our cat of 13 years, we had to put him down unexpectedly. And between dealing with Steve's heart attack at the end of January, beginning of February, then dealing with the loss of my dad passed away at the end of February. It's February 19th. And then we had to put our cat down. I'm just like, and I just kept trying really hard to just keep moving through it. Just take whatever's happening and just move through it. But my body was just like, no, we're done. You need to rest. So I got sick on, started feeling it Saturday, but really took a toll Monday. We're mixing these up. So we're going to go our purple, which sucked. It's just been a horrible 24. And, you know, I started 2024 with such huge expectations. I'm like, it's going to be a really good year. I can just feel it. No. Totally different plans for 2024. Even my doctor was floored. He was like, so tell me how things have been going. I'm like, well, not too good, actually. I feel like I've been under a lot of stress. So, this is 4 inches with a 8-inch tail. So I'm just making sure these are the same. And he's like, okay, well, that's a lot of stress. And I said, so husband had a heart attack at the end of January, beginning of February. Lost my father about 3 weeks ago. And then I had to put my cat down. And he's like, oh, Lord. He's like, well, the good news is that it comes in 3s and you're done for the whole year. So, yeah. So, yeah, this has been challenging, would be an understatement, I think. I'm just moving these. So we're going to do this really pretty pearl ribbon on the top. I love this ribbon. I think this is my last roll. But thank you guys for your prayers and for everything else. I think it was the cat. I told my husband, the cat was the cherry on top. I was like, once that happened, I was just like, can't hold it in anymore. Can't just put it on the back burner. Got to deal with it. So yeah, it's been crazy. Okay, so this last one is 7.5 inches with a 3.5 inch loop. I'm trying to just find out. There's 7.5 approximately. And then we'll fluff both of these. So I always take that little extra because you just never know when all you'll need is like another 24 inches. You just need that one more piece. And why would you want to leave that 24 inches just sitting on a ribbon roll like a tease of, ha ha ha, you can't really use me. There's not enough of me to go around. We're going to use black on this one. Just grabbing a black pipe cleaner. And then we will get these fluffed and on our adorable wreath. I just felt like he needed something different. Like way different. So let's get our fluff board ready. Just moving the bunny off. Now one of these we are fluffing with a downward bow. So I think I want this one up at the top. So I think we're going to do this one as a down bow. This will be the one that's on the bottom lower right. So I'm just going to go ahead and secure this on a C-hook. And remember, if we're doing our down bow, that's off for me. I need it on this side. When we're doing a down bow, you move all of your ribbon tails to the bottom because they don't need to be splayed around the wreath. So just grab all of your tails, pull them all to the bottom. We'll deal with those later. So we're going to start with the top two. And we want to open up those loops nice and big, nice and fluffy. So we're doing like a crisscross pattern. We're doing plaid to the left, the pearl circles to the right, and then we did opposite here. I'm going to do the same thing here. I'm going to pull the lavender up. I'm going to pull this one so that it kind of sits right in the middle. But on here, we're going to pull it up and pull our lavender down. So we're just doing like a mix. And then here, same thing. One high, one low. And then same down here. Just opposites. And really open those up. Like, don't let them lay down. And then from the tail perspective, you're just going to bring those between your fingers all the way down through all the ribbon. This one needs to go over there. And then you can do the bottom ones, but they work out better. They look better when you have them on the wreath. But this is our down bow. So this is the one that's going to go on the bottom. Okay, all of the tails to the bottom because they'll hang off the bottom corner. And then we're going to take that off. And now we're going to fluff the top one. So same thing. Going to put that on. Going to just twist it around. And then this one, because it's going to kind of go up to the top left, we're going to do this one a little bit different. So we're going to start with the bottom. And we're going to take our loop to the left, tail to the right. Go to the other side and we're going opposite. So we're going to do tail to the left, loop to the right. This way, tails are directly opposite, loops are directly opposite. Then we're going to pull down the next set. So that's the purple, loops to the right, tail to the left, loop to the left, tail to the right. So now you see we're staggering the tails and staggering the loops. Now, I'm just going to keep this plaid on top of this one just to break up that pattern. So rather than, just keep going with that same color palette, I'm going to mix this up. And then we're going to go loop here. Here's the purple. We're going to put that on top of your plaid. Remember, whatever we do over here, we want to do the opposite. And then here, we're not going to put plaid on top of plaid. I'm going to let it sit here. Do the same here. And then we're going to do the dots and then the dots. So what we have confined is we've separated our tails from the loops. And now we're going to do the same thing. We're going to lift the loops from the top. We're going to just play with what colors we want to see where. So I kind of like breaking up the plaid with other things. Just like here and here. And then we're doing the same at the bottom. There's that. And now we're going to fluff the ribbons. So we're just going to let those come between your fingers like curling ribbon. So really make sure you get all your stuff fluffed. So then we have a nice, beautiful bow. Just like that. And so we're going to put this one on the upper corner. There we go. We'll move this back. Bring our bunny back over. We're going to add in our bows. So I'm going to attach the bottom bow first. So this is the one where the tails are hanging down. So we're going to add this one right up against him, kind of in the lower portion. Okay, and then we're just going to fluff all your ribbons. Nice. And you can kind of tuck him, just make your ribbon kind of come over the top. There's our bottom bow. We're going to put our top bow right up here, right next to his head. So I want to make sure I know where my loops are going to be. So he's just going to fit right inside here. And then I'm just going to kind of push that down so I know right what the depth is for my bow, because I don't want to collapse my bow. Oops. So we're going to let those kind of fall in place. We'll just move his little feet up out of the way. Just like so. And then we're still going to add some more ribbon tails to the outside, and we might even come in and add a touch of floral. So right up in here, I want to add a ribbon tail. So I've cut our black and white at 14 inches. So I'm just going to tuck this one in right here. Let me try to pull that around. And we're going to go ahead and add a 19-inch ribbon tail. So we're just going to bring our dovetailed edges together. We're going to tuck these in. And we're going to add that in, just so we can bring our ribbon and tie our ribbon into the whole design all the way around. Just like so. Okay. We're also going to tuck a couple of these in on the side. So I've done the same thing, 14-inch ribbon tails. We're just adding these to the outside. And the 1.5 inches are cut to 19 inches. So we're just going to mix and add some of these. We might even come back in and add a nice big super loop. I'll show you what that looks like, just so we have some of those. Like, I feel like right in here we need, not that one, we need this one. So I'm going to go ahead and cut this one to 14 inches. We're going to dovetail the end, dovetail the end, and so we're going to bring those dovetailed edges together, and then we're going to gather right in the center. We're going to tuck that in, but then just kind of have that splayed out to the side. We are going to add in, let's see, with this one we did the black and white. So I'm going to do that one at 19 inches. So I'm just filling in the empty, not all of them, but some of them. Around the rabbit. So these are half bows. So we always like gather about 2 inches from the top. Okay, now let's do a fun little loop thing here. I haven't done one of these in a long time. We are going to, I'm just going to dovetail the end because I'm not sure how long I want to make the loop or the tail. There went my tail. So I'm just going to bring this up. I'm just kind of measuring. And we're going to do a large little half bow right in here. Kind of like right in here. And we'll just let this one randomly come to some weird length. So I'm going to tuck this one in right here, right next to his little rabbit head. And we'll let this one kind of fall out to the outside. Oops. We always go from the fold to the wired end. So there's that. What do you think of him so far? Doesn't he look amazing? I think I want to add some florals to him. What do you think? Should we add florals to him? I am trying to figure out what ribbon do I want to add right there. I think I might want to just add, let's do the film strip one. So I'm going to add another one on top of here. So we're going to do the same thing. We're going to let this one hang way longer. We're going to do a nice big loop. Let's do another loop. Look, I'm not even measuring. We're going to twist. That's to show you that you don't have to have rules for everything. So we will dovetail this side. Floor. What the? Whole bunch of different ribbon tails. We're adding some bows like up in here. I'm going to add another couple ribbon tails down here at the very bottom on the sides, just so that it finishes off that look. So I've got 1, 2, so on the sides down here, I'm just going to do a crisscross on our ribbons. So I took 2 pieces of the 1.5 inch, and I'll show you. This literally is going to have a little bit of everything. So we're going to dovetail these ends just to make them super simple. Dovetail the ends. And then we're going to do the same on the black and white. And I think we're going to do another one of these down at the bottom. Like what we did here, just at the bottom. Okay, so on the side, what I'm doing is I'm taking the ribbon and I'm putting one on top of the other. These are both 14-inch tails. We're going together. We're going to gather together. These are going to go right in the side. And then we're just going to go one up, one down. And then make sure that these are here. So same thing here. And then on the opposite side, we're doing the purple on top because I have one right here. We're just doing them here. So I'm just filling the sides. So there's one. There we go. So he's slowly taking shape. So I'm going to show you what we did on the side. I'm going to flip it. So we just made like a little ribbon tail set. And then up here, we're going to do the same thing we just did over there. So I'm going to do 14-inch tail. And we're going to grab our black and white. Right at 14 inches. Where did I say? I think I said right here we were going to do another one of those crazy loop things. I think that's what I said. Right? So I'm just taking these, putting them together, and then I'm just doing a crisscross like this. They're like little X's. Like that. There's one right here by his head. He's absolutely adorable. I think I'm going to take this one and I want to put a little bit longer loop than like what we did up there. I think I'm going to take this one. I'm going to move this down below because there's one right below here. I'm going to tuck this in here. And then we're going to do an extension piece like what we did up at the top right here. So it's just do your dovetail end. Just kind of look at where you want to see your tail ends wind up. Like this one's going to kind of want him a little bit longer. So I'm just putting that in. And I'm going to cut it right about here. I think that'll do it for that side. We'll do dovetail end. So these are just like, I guess you would call them funky bows. They just have no rhyme or reason. And then we're going to do a double here. So dovetail end. We'll let that one go along too. But we're going to do big loops. So let's push the rabbit up so you guys can see what I'm doing. One more. So I'm just kind of like gauging, okay, where do I want my ribbons to fall? Like right about there. Then a little bit longer tail. Just don't even measure. This one was all about taking wrists, right? Sometimes not having a planned approach just looks amazing. So let's put him up on the door and see what we think. And just making sure we have all of our ribbons cut, flipped. I'm going to flip you up. Hang on a sec. Hello all. We'll make sure we can see the door. So we'll take this one down. And let's put up the bunny. The super bunny. Okay. Now you just go ahead and fluff everything out. If you want, you can add little spirals to this, which is just curl your ribbon up. Yikes. And then just pull them out to the side. So we have a little spiral. And there we go. There is our bunny. I'm making sure he's on the door straight. Let's check this one right behind. And there we go. There we go. So he's on the black door. What size box will this fit in? That's a great question. It will fit in a 24-inch box on the diagonal. So 24 by 24 by 6, because he's not that fluffy. Like, I mean, I think right here is from here to the bottom is about 6 inches. So he is available for sale on my website. It's the only one I have. It's the only one I'm going to make. So if you like him, don't want to make him, and want him on your front door, he is available. Thanks, Donna. Donna said, love him. Let me go through. So yes, we've talked about you can get the bunny attachment at PNWWreaths, N, the letter N, things all squished together on Etsy. She's the one that sent him to me to feature him in his ad. Making sure. So you guys are all like, no flowers. It's funny, I brought all these florals over and we chose not to use them. Okay. Making sure. Thank you, Julie. So Julie is the owner of PNWWreathsNThings. She posted her link there. So if you guys like him, you can go over there and find him on her shop. But yes, that is our bunny wreath, and I think he's going to finish out, I think we have like 1 or 2 spring, but then we're going to be moving on to other things, everyday stuff, and preparing for patriotic holidays. I know it's like March, but Memorial Day is coming up soon. All right, I will talk to you all later. I hope you've enjoyed this tutorial, and don't forget, keep on creating. Bye for now, everyone.